Wife Material Podcast. Open communication, not open relationship. I mean, the choice is yours. It's up to you and your husband how you do things. But what I want to talk about is the idea of instead of trying to do like an open relationship type of thing, do an open communication thing instead. Because, things can get boring. Sometimes people tend to marry young. And, you know, they might not have thought it out completely. They might not have experience in long-term relationships. They might not be really family-orientated. They might not be that sociable, certain factors that could make a long-term relationship hard to sustain if somebody's more antisocial, right? They're more of an introvert. Because sometimes that happens. You get an introvert that gets with an extrovert, and sometimes that tends to create a problem. That tends to clash. Now, a lot of times it does have the reverse effect where the introvert becomes more of an extrovert and vice versa. Like y'all influence each other. So y'all become a little bit more outroverts, basically, right? Where there's a balance. A lot of times y'all want to stay in. A lot of times y'all want to go out. And that's fine. But a lot of times, the whole, I want to stay in all the time, why you got to go out all the time, can become a problem. If you're an introvert and you're in a relationship, you're not going to like the person you're in a relationship always going out while you're always staying in. That's always a contradiction. So that's why it's important to understand yourself first and foremost. Not necessarily love yourself, not that nonsense. No, understand yourself. Understand, are you the jealous type, or are you the type that will cheat, and the list goes on, right? That kind of stuff. It's very important to know yourself before you try to go get into a relationship with other people and try to get to know them. And then that's the other thing, try to get to know them. Most people get in relationships and they just think it's all sunshines and rainbows, and then the relationship doesn't work out. And the reason why is because you didn't put effort to get to know the person you're trying to be in a relationship, right? You're supposed to pretty much try to know everything. Are you going to know everything? No. Are there going to be secrets? Yeah. Secrets are fine. Lies are the problem. And this is where the open communication comes in, It's better to, I'll use myself as an example, I'd rather have a lady that, lets me know that she's interested in another guy than to keep that to herself, right? And then it leads to cheating. I'd rather she be open with it. And that's where the open communication comes from. If she wants to, have a weekend where she's single, right? And I agree with it, right? And I allow it. Of course, I will want the same thing in return, right? To be fair, right? It's about fairness, not about equality. But to be fair, then, give that a try. Don't make a habit of it, but it's a way to at least be able to allow things to happen in a way that you have more under control of it, right? More understanding. And if it turns out really, really bad, then it was always going to turn out bad anyway. But if it, you got to understand the idea that you want to make sure that the relationship works. And if you understand that the person sometimes wants to be single, right, from time to time, then you might want to accommodate for that, right? It's compromises. So, that's why I'm talking about the whole open communication thing, because you want to make sure that you and your partner are on the same page, that there are no issues. Because, the thing is, you don't want any small issues to compound and become a big issue. You want to resolve it as soon as possible. This is why I tell a lot of guys that they got to treat a relationship like a job. They're the boss. Your girl is a CEO, right? Especially in a marriage. That You gotta treat it like a business, and you gotta run it like a business. You gotta make sure that your employees, right, your wife and kids, are good. That they're healthy, they're happy, they're satisfied. They're there for the long haul, right? They're there for the career of being a family, right? You don't want everybody acting like strangers and acting like disgruntled co-workers and stuff like that. You know, you want everybody to get along. So that's why it's very important to, you know, you gotta be open to the possibilities that the relationship, you know, the family might, you know, start becoming dysfunctional. You don't want that. You want it to function. You want it to be successful, right? Just like any business, you want this business to succeed. You want to plan for the future, right? And you want to make sure that everything works out, that everybody, you know, gets where they need to get to in life, right? The kids get promoted, right, into adulthood, and then they, you know, start creating their own family and whatnot, and live their lives. You want to prepare them for that. So of course they gotta learn from you, right? You gotta teach them how you deal with things, how you solve problems, and that's part of the thing about being an adult is understanding how to get along with other people. And that's where communication comes in. You know, no one's really a mind reader, right? So you gotta let people know what you think, what you feel, right? But definitely been trying to point out that idea that we really need to be out here, you know, letting people know that marriages and stuff like that, you know, take a long time to put together, to make them functional, and that's where the communication comes in. Something I suggest is going on like vacations. Obviously, that's always good, right? But you know, you can call it marriage vacations or whatever, sex vacation, whatever you want to call it, right? And the idea is, or open, you know, vacation, where the idea is you're going out somewhere where no one really knows who you are and whatnot, and be single, you know, for the time you're there, right? You know, it's the whole what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas type of concept, right? And this is a way to spice up the relationship. There's many other ways, obviously. You know, open up spice up the relationship in the bedroom. You know, bring somebody else in. You can bring somebody else into the relationship. You know, temporarily or permanently, however way, you know, whatever works. But the idea is to have an open communication and let it be known what you think and what you feel, and then come to some, you know, compromise. You know, a lot of times you're not going to agree on things. Sometimes, you know, you're going to agree to disagree. You know, but that's part of being human. That's part of being an adult. That's part of being in a relationship. Is, you know, communicating, is letting the other person know where your mind is at, where your heart is at, right? Where you at in life. You know, some people, you know, they're going through some stuff. It could be because of hormones, right? Feelings. It could be monotony, boredom, right? It could be some, you know, mental health issues, among other factors. There's a lot of different reasons why, you know, certain relationships might not be lasting long, might not be working well. Is because no one's, you know, focusing on trying to improve or at least understand the other person, trying to understand what's the current health of the relationship, right? A lot of people love to talk about being in healthy relationships, and they always seem to be in toxic relationships. And then you gotta wonder, is like, it's not that it's toxic by default, because you wouldn't deliberately agree to be in a relationship with somebody who you feel is toxic, who you don't get along with, who you don't agree with, right? That's not logical. So then that means something happened over a course of time, right? So you got to figure out. That's why it's important to communicate and keep tabs on each other to make sure that y'all ain't allowing the relationship to, you know, go astray, right? You're supposed to control the direction in which the relationship is going, not let it operate on its own. You wanna run it the way you want it to. You want a specific outcome. If you want a positive outcome, you gotta make sure you have control of the relationship where you get the positive outcome. You want the relationship to last long, you gotta do what it takes to make it last long. So that's where, the importance of communication. Something most ladies have to understand is that for guys, sex is not love, right? We don't connect sex and love together. We could technically do it, but it's not how we love. We don't love with our penises. So, but I do know the ladies do love that way. That's why y'all ladies, y'all see sex as love. So when a guy you're with has sex, you see it as him loving somebody. You don't see it as him, being selfish, right? Him just trying to bust a nut and that's it. It's just a urge. It's not a love, right? It's not, that urge is not connected to the feeling of love. That's why a lot of times after a guy does have sex, he tends to distance himself from the lady, have no interest in her anymore, right? And some ladies be wondering why. After everything was fine, and then we had sex, and then he's barely talking to me, or he's ignoring me, he's avoiding me, he's ghosting me, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's because everything he was doing was based off of horniness. It wasn't love. He wasn't in love. He just had a urge, and a hard to control urge. Not impossible, of course, but a hard to control urge, right? That's the thing, is his urge wasn't by choice, right? Love typically is a choice. When you love somebody, you usually choose to love them. Sex, like I said, for guys ain't love, but a lot of ladies keep thinking that it is. So that's why they think that if a guy cheats, right? They like to say cheat. That's just, that's the same thing as when a woman cheats. And it's not. Because when ladies cheat, they cheat because of emotions, because of love or lack of love. They do not cheat just because they're horny. And it's very rare if a female did, cheat because she was horny. But it's 9 out of 10 times is because she lost feelings for the guy she's with, or she suddenly started getting feelings for some other guy. But usually, in order for you to have feelings for another guy, you have to lose feelings for the first guy. So that's the thing. And that's why it's cheating when a woman cheats. But it's not cheating when a guy cheats, because he's not cheating. The guy is not losing love for his wife or his girlfriend. He's just horny, and if he has sex with another female, well, that's a bad decision, right? That was a mistake. That was something he shouldn't do, right? So it's more of a mistake than it is cheating. Real cheating is something you do deliberately, because you're trying to gain something out of it, which is usually you're trying to win at the expense of somebody else. But a guy having sex with another woman when he already has one, that's not him cheating, because he doesn't want to give up the woman that he's with for the other woman, right? So there's a difference. That's what I'm saying. A big difference. Not saying cheating, is okay, right? Because it is still a betrayal thing. But if you're open about it, then it's not that big of a deal. if you ask for permission as opposed to asking for forgiveness, right? Real men ask for permission. That's why open communication is important. So if a guy is interested in, on a lady, he needs to be open about it. Not saying that you have to agree with it. Not saying that you have to give him permission or anything. I'm just saying, the communication is important. You rather know that that's what he's interested in than for it to be a secret, right? For him keeping that from you or lying to you about it. You rather him be honest and be open with it, right? Open communications. And then y'all figure out what y'all gonna do. Go along with it, go against it, whatever, right? For me, the way I do it with my ladies is usually it tends to be mutual. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they're okay with it being just one-sided. One-sided on my side. But they always want rules, so they always have like rules and stuff. And like, fair enough, I'm asking for permission, right? So if you have rules, then obviously I'll take those to account. That's important. A lot of times I don't exercise it. Sometimes I'll be given this pass. Sometimes I'll be told straight up, just like, hey, I don't expect you to be, monogamous to me or whatever. It's like, I just like being with you, this, that, and the third. And if you feel you need, to be with, do things with other ladies, that is fine. And it's like, okay, at least we're open about it. At least we're talking about it, right? Not keeping it to ourselves. It's like, all right. A lot of times, it's like I don't really exercise it, but it's the fact that it's there. That's the thing. It's like, at least we're open about it, and it's there. It's not a secret. But I'm pretty loyal. Again, like I said, it's like I'd rather ask for permission than forgiveness. There's no need for me to keep anything like that specifically, especially if it affects the relationship or it could affect the relationship. I'm not going to keep that a secret. Like, I'd rather be open with it. And the thing is that I want to be happy in the relationship. And of course, my happiness is more my responsibility than it is anybody else's, and vice versa, right? But I do like to make people happy. What makes me happy is making people happy. So, that's why it's important to have open communication, and try to keep, the ladies I'm with as happy as possible. I deal with more than one lady at a time, so I'm a little different than most people. Most people, they could barely handle being in a, two-person relationship, and I'm out here dealing with multiple ladies. But the rule still applies, right? I mean, for me, it's a little bit extra because of the fact that it's not enough for me to get permission. I gotta have permission from all the ladies, so they all have to agree, right? I can't just ask one for permission, to be with another woman, and then leave all the other ladies out. It's like, no, they all have to agree. So that's the thing. It has to be unanimous. So it's a little different, right? So when you're dealing with one chick, it's one thing. Now, granted, I'm not talking about marriage, because obviously marriage, it's rare to be in a multiple wife situation, right? Unless you're from other countries. So good thing for most people, you just got to deal with one other person, right? Just a two-person relationship. So let's get back to that, right? So again, like I said, if you want to bring in extra people, that's one thing. Open communication, not just for sex. I'm just saying that tends to be a factor. Money and sex tend to be two major factors, right? Money, sex, and love tends to be not as important as it used to be, but yeah, money and sex. And this is part of the issue, because a lot of ladies like to equate sex to love, and those are not the same thing. Those are two separate things, especially for guys. Among two women that are together, yeah, love, sex and love would be a factor. They would go together. But when you're dealing with a guy, no, there's no sex. Sex is just sex. It's not love. So a male and female dynamic is she loves through sex, but he loves through his heart. So that's the difference, right? We love you for you. You love us for what we do to you or for you. That's the difference. So, I'm not going to go into the how women and men are different, but that's important to understand. Once you understand the differences, that makes it easier, to get along, or at least it should. And that goes back to the open communication, the importance of talking to one another to make sure you understand his point of view. Let's say your husband, the guy you're with, right? For him, sex is love, right? He does equate, sex to love. So obviously, giving him less sex is going to make him feel less love, right? If you go that route, because I hear people use, especially ladies, they use that love language thing. So if his love language is physical contact, right, then sex is important, right? But if his love language, let's say, is communication, right? So that goes back to the whole communication thing of this video, right? Then you not talking to him and you keeping your feelings and your thoughts and your wants and whatnot to yourself is doing him a disservice, right? His love language is communication. So he will want to know what you think. He wants to hear what you have to say, and vice versa. Of course, he'll want you to hear what he has to say. So that's why it's important to, early in a relationship to decide, not decide, but, start getting into the habit of open relationship and start to learn, each other, get to know each other before you do anything. Because a lot of times I'll have talks with the ladies I'm with about sex before we ever have sex, because I'm not interested in us not talking about sex. We bring up sex one time, which is right before we even have it, and then a lot of issues happen. We did some stuff she didn't like, but she didn't say anything because she didn't want to, create a problem while we were doing it. But then afterwards, maybe months later, maybe a year later, she brings it up, and it's like, oh damn, could have said something sooner. Why you wait so long? That kind of stuff. So instead of to avoid those types of situations, that's why you have to be open with communication. You gotta let it be known that you want what you want early. Or make sure that what you like, he knows. What you dislike, he knows. He needs to know what he needs to know. And some of you ladies like to think that guys need to be like expert at everything, or the guys should definitely be good at a lot of stuff, which is why you chose him, right? Or which is why you're with him and he's your husband, is because he's really good at a lot of stuff. But no one's perfect, so that's why you gotta communicate and let it be known what you like and dislike. That way it makes him better. Because that's the thing. Some people are so selfish nowadays that they forget that, well, not forget, it's because they don't know, because they weren't raised to know, is that you as a woman, right, you as a wife, you are supposed to make your husband better, right? He's supposed to already be awesome, which is why you got with him in the first place, but you're supposed to make him better than that. You're supposed to be able to uplift him, upgrade him. That's the whole support thing. You're supposed to make him better, stronger. You're supposed to motivate him to be better, stronger, right? If he's going downhill and starts becoming an alcoholic or a crackhead or something like that, then you failed as a woman, right? You failed as his wife, as the person he loves, the person that loves him. You can't truly say you love somebody if you're going to let them fall, right? If you're going to let them become a crackhead or alcoholic or abusive, right? You're just as responsible for the outcome of the relationship as he is, right? The relationships, it takes two to tango, as they always say. And it's funny how people know that expression, but they always bring it up when they want to say they're right about something, but then always dismiss it whenever it's the opposite. Like, so they'll use it when it benefits them, but they don't keep the same energy when it doesn't benefit them. It's like, oh no, it takes two to tango. You're not gonna say that the guy who got you pregnant, it's all his fault and it's not your fault. No, your body, your choice. You're responsible for your fault. Remember, you open your legs. You're just as responsible for you getting pregnant as he is. So let's not try to point blame elsewhere. It takes two to tango. Right? So the same thing goes for making a relationship last. Communication is a two-way street, right? It takes two to communicate, not just one. So it's important that both people have say in, or get to say what they think and feel about certain topics, certain situations, especially when it pertains to the relationship, especially if you have kids, right? The importance. Sometimes some people be selfish, and then they want to make selfish decisions that they think only affects them, but don't realize it affects other people, like your children. Right? The decisions you make should be, when you're in a relationship, especially a marriage, it's not a me thing. It's a we thing. We need to talk. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to get along. We need to solve these problems. It's a we thing. We need this. We need that. We want to be happy. It's not about, oh, my happiness. I want to be happy. I, me. That's why a lot of relationships don't work out too well, because all that selfishness, all that me bullshit. It's like, if you want to be selfish and it'd be all about you, then you're better off being single. Now, I don't support the idea of people being single. I'm against it. I want people to, be together. Because I believe we are definitely meant to be together, and we are definitely better together. But for those situations where that's not the case, then it's important that you do the best you can to make your life better and prepare for old age. And that's the thing, most people don't plan for the future. That's why it's very important to be open to whatever stuff you're dealing with. But with hopefully through my videos and podcasts, right? You'll be doing better, right? You'll have better relationships, which is ideal. It's better to be in a relationship than not to be. Trust me. That will always be facts. Because it's better to be. Because the thing is, when you create a family, you created it, so it should be awesome, because you created it, right? Which will always be better than being alone. So there's nothing wrong with being a little selfish, but too many people are extremely selfish, and that creates a problem. See, guys are supposed to be selfless, ladies are supposed to be selfish, because the whole give and take, guys give, ladies take, and that's the way that's the way it works, a symbiotic relationship. But then there's the situations where we give and take, and that's the way it should be, because that's what works. But some people try to do things differently. Two selfish people try to get in a relationship, or two selfless people try to get in a relationship. Now, the funny thing about this two selfless people thing, the relationship tends to seem to work a little bit good. But that's the thing. It's like, even though guys are supposed to be selfish, chicks are supposed to be selfless, you're not supposed to be 100% selfish. That's where you get into a problem. When you have a chick that's extremely selfish, and that tends to ruin the relationship a lot, because it's all about her, me, right? And that's the thing about being selfish, is always trying to make it all about you. It's okay to be a little selfish, but it's not okay to be extremely selfish. And we need to get into the idea and the habits of doing things. It makes sense when a chick does things for you in a selfish way, like she did things for you because she wants something out of it. And that's fine, that's acceptable, right? That she cooks for you, she cleans for you, this, that, and third, right? She gives you, good sex. These things for you out of a selfish reason, which is she's trying to get benefits. I mean, the number of times ladies use sex to try to get trips or try to get the guy to agree with her on something happens a lot, a lot. So, and it's fine, it's fair, not equal, but it's fair, right? Give and take, right? That's the thing. Sometimes giving in order to take, is something a selfish person can do. It just a lot of times they don't. They just take, and they barely give anything back. But anyway, that's why the whole open communication is important. Because instead of just constantly taking what is as is, you can always do better. Always try to do more. Put in more. The more you put in, the more you should get out. Now, I understand if you want to make sure that you get more back in return than you give. You want to get more for less. I can understand that, and I'm not against that. Most guys don't mind that. Most guys are okay with that. Most guys don't want too much anyway. Like, we don't ask for too much. Sex science tends to be enough for most guys. That if you want a lot from us, not a big deal. As long as we get what we would be okay with the bare minimum. As long as we get the bare minimum, right? As long as we're satisfied with it. Don't be like, oh yeah, I could give you sex sandwich. That's not a problem. But then the sandwich is terrible, the sex is terrible, and the silence is too much. Like the silence is you always leave. It's like, you're always leaving, you're always ignoring me. Yeah, that's too much silence, right? Like it's like I just want you not to be constantly nagging or complaining. It's like I want you to like if I want some alone time, then you'll give me some alone time out of respect, out of love, not out of spite or just because you don't want to be around me type of thing. That'd be too much, right? But that kind of stuff is like, don't give me the worst version of the bare minimum, right? Give me, always make sure you give me the best of the bare minimum, and I give you the best of whatever you want, right? I give you whatever you want, even if it's not much even if it's not quality. Let's say I don't give you quality, but as long as I give you quantity, give you a lot of what you want, that should make up for the lack of quality. And sometimes that tends to hold true a lot. If you can't give somebody quality, at least give them quantity, and then vice versa. If you can't give somebody quantity, give them quality. But it does depend on the situation. Some people want both, which is greedy. Some people are okay with quantity, and some people are okay with quality. So it just depends on the situation. You gotta be able to be flexible in more ways than one, if you know what I mean. And that's where the whole, open communication thing is about. Is like flexibility. Is you want to, you want to know what's going on, or what could go on, or what could happen, so that you can prepare for it. You can make decisions based off of it, right? That's the thing. You want to know. You want to know if your husband, is starting to get certain urges, or whatnot. You want to know you want to know what they are, and when he's having these urges, right? And then deal with it, right? Handle it, whichever way you choose to handle it. I recommend, this is a recommendation, I recommend to try to make it work, right? Try to compromise in a way where it's a win-win situation, where everybody gets something that they want out of this situation, so that way the relationship can keep going. This is how a lot of 30-year marriages, 40-year, 50-year marriages work, is compromise. The most common thing I see in all those relationships even in my own relationships that last long, is compromising. Is sometimes, you know, losing a situation just so later on you'll win a situation. You can use the fact that, like, hey, remember that last time this, that, and the third happened, and I let you do the thing you wanted to do? Well, all I'm asking is for you to let me do what I want to do right now. That'd be fair. Where it's the same situation, right? Well, let's say last time I let you eat my food from the fridge. Okay, this time I'm asking you, can I eat your food from the fridge? Right? You know what I mean? As an example, right? So it's just about being fair, not necessarily being equal. It does, it could be anything, but you get the idea. It's like, I'm going to make sure that you are happy. At the same time, I make sure I'm happy with the situation, whether the situation is sexual or not, or it's money related or whatever. Sometimes it can be something as simple as, like, she wants you to make more money, or she wants you to work less, or something like that. It's like, okay, I'll see what I can do. Because sometimes it's something as simple as that. It's like they just want more of your time. It's like, oh, okay, you want more of my time. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'll see what I can do. Sometimes it's the reverse. They want less of your time. Like, let's say you spend too much time with them. That's why it's important to have open relationship and let it be known, like, hey, we spend a lot of time together. I would like to spend at least this weekend, not together. Oh, okay, that's cool. Not a problem. As long as it's not going to be a problem, right? It's like, it's cool. You want to spend some time away from me? Not a problem at all. That is totally okay. That's understandable, as long as it's not with the intent of hooking up with some other guy without me knowing, or some shit like that. Like, oh damn, that's not something we agreed to. Right off the bat, it'll be something we'll talk about, and that's the thing about the importance of talking, because it's like, even if I'm against it at first, if we take the time to talk about it, I could change my mind. I am, because I'm an open-minded person. It's like, if we can come to an agreement on the situation, then we can make it work, right? I'm honest. There's certain things that I would not be okay with any of my ladies doing with another guy. So there's certain things I'd be like, yeah, you can be with him, but could you not do this with him? Can you not do that with him? Can you not do it in my house, right? Little things like that. Like, I got boundaries. I got rules, even for something like this. Is what I'm saying. I got rules in general, right? I'd rather you not want to be with another guy, but if that's how you feel, right? You feel the way you feel. All I can do is, try to work with it, or not. I could be like, I'm not interested in this. If you really, really want to pursue this, then you can, as a single woman, right? As an example. But I do prefer a more win-win scenario. I prefer not to let someone go, as it were, right? I rather come up with a compromise as opposed to like an ultimatum type situation where it's like, well, either my way or the highway. It's like, I rather, like, let's come to an agreement. Let's make it a little bit fair, as it were. Not necessarily equal, but fair. I'll be a little extra honest, right? I would take advantage of the situation if she suddenly has interest, in doing something with another guy. It's like, oh, I'm gonna use this leverage. This is leverage for me. So if there's something I really, really wanted, it's like, oh, if you really want this, then that thing you say you would never do, I want you to do it. It's fair, right? Let's say, I don't know, she never agrees to, to dress up as a maid or something like that. It's like, well, If you want to go spend, a weekend with some dude that's not me, well then I'm gonna need you to dress up like a maid for whatever reason I wanted you to, right? Or there's some chicks out there that don't even want to wear dresses. So I could take advantage, like I said, leverage of this situation and be like, you gotta wear dresses. If you're gonna do this, if I'm going to agree to this, you're gonna have to start wearing dresses. And I'm the type of guy that will make it where it's like what I asked for does last longer than the situation, right? Since this is a big deal, it's like, you're trying to do something with somebody else that's not me. What I'm gonna ask for is not a temporary thing. I'm gonna ask for something that's gonna last for the whole relationship. So you're gonna wear a dress, right? Let's say she don't like wearing thongs. It's like, you want to be with another guy? You're gonna have to wear thongs now. That kind of stuff. So that's the kind of guy I am. But again, I'm willing to compromise. Right? Give me what I want. I'll give you what you want. And that's why open communication is very, very important, as opposed to trying to do an open relationship, because a lot of problems tend to happen from open relationships. A lot of times somebody doesn't want the relationship to stay open. They want it to be closed sometimes. And a lot of times they want it to be closed when they want it, as opposed to being closed when the other person wants it. So that's why open relationships tend to not work out too well for too many people. It works for some people, but not for a lot of people. But open communication works for a lot of people, which is why I'm recommending open communication as opposed to open relationships. And that's the end of the podcast.